All right. So thank you for joining. Welcome to this short lightning talk about infrastructure drift, infrastructure as code, DevSecOps, and driftctl. And this is HashiConf 21. And I think major announcements were already made for us. It's cool. So to keep it short, what is infrastructure drift? It's basically what happens when the reality and the expectations don't match. And according to this definition, your AWS account that's on the right, it has a ton of actual resources, and maybe only part of them are correctly managed by Terraform, and that's on the left. So the diff between the two, that diff basically is the drift. So what are the causes of drift? There are many, but the major ones are the manual changes, obviously, that you make directly on the AWS console. All the authenticated stuff like lambdas, microservices, and that are creating, modifying stuff, etc. You know the story. Any kind of scripts that run every night after some pipeline or some modification, snapshotting things, etc. It can be another team working with another tool, like CloudFormation or something else, and because, I don't know, a service is not yet available on the current Terraform provider, and sometimes Terraform, is not even running so often on pipelines on CI/CD systems, and that's only for the automated resources. So guess what happens to all those resources that are not managed by Terraform? Can be pretty much a big issue. So in the end, all those activities that I mentioned and many others, they are all authenticated, and they are all sources, causes of drift. So as we just said, we definitely need to shed some light on all the unknown resources of your accounts. All those resources that are not under control with Terraform, and only then you will know about all the misconfiguration you have with them, and only then you'll be able to address or fix the issues. So this is a very short lightning talk with a live demo. This is a pretty standard AWS account on US East 1 that I'm using, and there's a ton of resources on it, and I'll show how driftctl reports can help you increase your, code coverage and automation using Terraform and driftctl. So let's go. So this is, hopefully it's big enough. Can you see my screen correctly? I know through yes. Zoom and OBS sometimes it's quite blurred or pixelized. Cool. So this is a very, very simple Terraform repo with a base random generated a folder, an IAM with different users, S3 buckets and VPC, and we won't use them. It's just because I needed to generate states to show you different use cases. So if we use driftctl scan and with directly a way to load all the Terraform states directly, it's the glob pattern. So if you have, TerraGrunt, you can load with a very complex folder structure. You can already use that one directly, and it's going to load all the states. We have users with hundreds of thousands of states in folders, and you can load them all directly. So if you aggregate all the states, so you know exactly what's under control by Terraform or TerraGrunt or whatever you're using that ends up being stored as Terraform states right now, and we compare that to what's running on your AWS account. So in this case, we found 4 states, 70 resources on the AWS account, and it found a bucket, a simple bucket named very creatively J3DMHJDemo, and we got this coverage percentage. Like at 87%, we know a little bit of metrics like how many resources are covered by the infrastructure as code in Terraform in this case, or how much is not covered. In this case, it's this one, etc. So in this case, we decide that having a bucket not under Terraform is a very bad idea. So what we want to do is basically import that one on Terraform. So let's do this. And guess what? I already wrote the resource, so we don't live code that because it's pretty useless. And we will just import this. Let me copy paste that. All right. Let me just import using Terraform import, and I'm not on the right folder. Demo effect, pepcac, and Terraform import. So let's import this one that driftctl notified you to be not under Terraform. It's a drift from your all the TF states you have on your in this case laptop. It can be obviously Terraform Cloud or S3 bucket. And so now if we go back and use driftctl scan again, loading all the states, it's going to scan all the resources again. And obviously now the TF state is updated because of the import and the new code. Hooray! 8 resources and 100% coverage. So we attained our goal using driftctl to attain 100% coverage because we reported what was not in the different TF states. So that's one use case for driftctl. Now let me show you something else. Let's go to EC2 and create very quickly a VM. We won't get into details because we don't care about the key pair. Yes, I know, it's for a demo. All right. So now, still pending. Hopefully, AWS is not using Fastly today.
Oh.
Still pending. Demo effect. It's sometimes much more quicker. Let's check what it's doing when it's still pending. Is it showing up on the API? I don't know. So yeah, it's showing up. So so you expected that creating an AWS EC2 instance would generate an AWS instance resource using on Terraform terms. It's this one. Plus it created an EBS volume still as seen by, as returned by the API and as consumed by the Terraform providers. And you discover as well that it created by default a security group and a rule that happened to open 22 and as ingress and egress as everything, so you can use internet on this instance. So basically, you created an AWS instance and it created 4 different resources in Terraform terms. And your coverage dropped to 61%. So let's say you are using driftctl to know about that kind of manual stuff being created out of nowhere, I don't know, by your colleague or by your script or by something. And you say, okay, I don't want this, so let's go back on the console or using the CLI or whatever tool you want. And basically you just shut down that instance. And you think that basically the job would be good enough, and it's still slower than during the rehearsals. T2 Micro, please do the job. And basically, I can show you something else during that time. We can have filtering. So filtering. It's using, if you know the AWS CLI, it's using pretty much the very same filtering system called GMSPath. So you can filter the output only the type that you're interested in. So in our case, we can reuse all the names, all the resources in Terraform. In this case, maybe we want the AWS security group rules. So we can scan the whole account and it will filter. It will display to you only what you're interested in this case, the rules. I don't know, maybe you have a cron tab running every hour or so, and what you want to know about is not about the S3 bucket, you don't care about EC2 instances or RDS or whatever, and you only want about rules that are not covered by infrastructure as code. And in this case, we had this report with the two rules, which means if we go back to our scan, current scan, previous scan, now we removed the EC2 instance. It removed the EC2 instance resource from the detection. It removed the EBS volume as well, if you remember it. But what it did not remove is the security group and the security group rule. That's why we had it when we filtered it. So it means that a lot of things that are done using, I don't know, automated scripts, applications, frameworks, that kind of things, do a lot of other things under the hood. We all know about this. But if you're like me and you test a lot of things, test a lot of things here and there, everywhere, you can end up with a lot of resources everywhere that are not under control by Terraform, which is not good. We all know that we tend to want to have 100% coverage. So what can you do with driftctl as well? You can have the very same output that I showed you as JSON. So why would you like to have that JSON output? Because if you have JSON output, you can tinkle with the content. You can do things like, let me check. All right, this is the very same output, but this one is as a JSON form. So what can you do? You can do something like this. That's something that I like. So you can extract your coverage percentage, that's just a number, 72, from the JSON. So you can, I don't know, store it on Prometheus and graph it on Grafana, or do whatever you want. You can make a lot of integrations with that as well. Your own tooling, you can extract IDs and pass this ID to other tools that can check for, I don't know, security stuff and compliance, and a lot of tools that you can integrate when you extract the output from driftctl and input that on other tools. So that's the kind of things that you can do. And another thing you can do with driftctl is the drift-ignore file. If you have, let's say you have a lot of resources unmanaged on your AWS account, it can be, well, you can enter them to ignore them one by one, but it can take a pretty much long time. It's based on the gitignore file if you want. And so you add resources and IDs one by one. It can take a lot of time if you have hundreds of resources. So you can use that JSON file that we just generated to generate a gitignore, a driftignore, file. So let's try that. So it will append all the new drifts that we had in the driftignore file. So now if we go there, at the end, we see our three new, the two rules and the new security group. So you can have pretty much, you can invent your own workflow about that. I don't know, for pull requests, you can invent whatever you want. So now if we run the scan now, using the very same file that is now updated, guess what? Will be fully covered, 100% coverage. So it means that you can work on this resource later. It means that you can import it later, you can delete it later, you can analyze it later, you can do things like that. So that's pretty much about it for the demo. 20 seconds left. driftctl is open source. It's written in Go. We support Terraform Cloud recently. That's a community contribution. That's really cool. Obviously, all the states location can be used. AWS and GitHub are supported. So if you manage GitHub with your own with Terraform, you can have the same kind of drift detection for what is not under control. And well, that's cloudscape/driftctl on GitHub, and driftctl.com/deet will redirect you to our Discord. We are pretty much all the time on Discord, very often publicly working. And basically, if you joined during the talk and wonder what I'm talking about, the main thing to remember is that most people experience drift for very different reasons, and that we built this tool, driftctl, as an open source tool, so you can basically increase the knowledge and security of your automated cloud infrastructures. So, well, thank you for your attention. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you very soon on the GitHub discussions or on Discord, telling us about your experience with driftctl. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we still have time for questions?
Sure.
I don't know if it's allowed even, but one of the questions which I have is when you run the when you saw diff with S3 bucket, you generated Terraform code. Well, but you already have TF state. Do you have any intention to actually generate Terraform code for this resource? Because you have already state. What else do you need?
Yeah, you're a very good question. Basically, well, I know you know, but Terraformer does exactly that. I don't have the time to rewrite what the Waze team in Tel Aviv did. GCP already did that, and definitely it's not my job to do this. So one thing I want to try is to extract the ID from the JSON that we generate and pass it as an input to Terraformer, so it can generate the code, and that would be integrated in the Terraform folder, and then you can import that, and then the Terraform state is updated, and then you can run driftctl to ensure that what I did manually was done automatically using different tools. That's more the goal of driftctl. Definitely not to rewrite something that already exists.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, there are 3 questions by other people, and I think I found, I don't know if it's bug or feature, but when you applied filter, yeah, why did it scan 74 resources?
Yeah, it's currently neither a bug or a feature. It's just that we do not currently take your filters into account for scanning the API. We only take them into account post-processing. But good news, there's a PR open already on GitHub for that. So next release, that should be probably before the end of the week, it will probably support that very soon. I need to test that before the end of the week.
Yeah, that's great. Cool. Great. Have a good day then. See you guys.
Thank you. Bye, Anton.
Stefan, can you see the questions on the chat?
Yeah, so blah, 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 blah. Do you have a roadmap item to support Azure and GCP? Yes, Ken. You can go to the GitHub. There's discussions. We are pretty much community driven. So if you want Azure or GCP, upvote for the feature. And we will take the one that has the most votes. It's probably going to start at the end of this year, not before. I don't think we will have time before that. But yeah, Azure and GCP, it's the same for any other kind of feature. If you find other features that you want to upvote, please do. If you want a feature that is not described, please open an issue or open a discussion. We are very active on GitHub and also Discord. So I think your second question is, are the resource types per provider limited? driftctl only supports specific subset resource types, which is true. We do not simply reuse what Terraform already does pretty well. We do a lot of things on our side, so we need to construct exactly service by service what we want to support, the way we want to support it. So yeah, so you can read the list. If you go to docs.driftctl.com/something, you have the list of all the resources that are, all the services and resources that are supported. We add them all the time. For the past 2 months, not many resources were added because we went through a major rewrite under the hood. So we can, it's somehow answering part of your third question, which is, are you planning on generically supporting any Terraform provider, or does each provider take manual integration in driftctl? So in the end, we want this generic support for any Terraform provider, but right now we are we are about to release a new version 0.10 of driftctl, and you can use any version of the AWS provider. I know that a lot of you wanted this feature, so AWS provider version 2, version 3, and any subversion. So if a feature was only on 3.40 and we were running a hard-coded 3.19 version until now, and it caused problems to you, as it did to me on some other production systems. At the end of the week, this will be solved. But yeah, it's going to take time to generically support any Terraform provider. I don't know if there is... thanks, Ken. So I don't know if there is more questions. Thank you, Ken. Great response, and keep it up. Really cool tool. Thank you. Thank you, Ken. So, all right. So if there's not much more questions, we can stop this lightning talk, and hopefully driftctl.com. Join us on Discord. That's where we are every day, and ask us anything. Tell us about your use cases, where you would like to see this tool. I recommend using the tool on CI. I didn't have the time to show the tool in CI. We have GitHub Actions. We have orbs for Circle CI. Well, we can put it on the pipelines before Terraform Plan Apply. After we saw a lot of different use cases with different users. So please don't hesitate. Tell us about your use case, and we'll be happy to answer it. So if there's no more question, thanks for watching, and see you soon on Discord. Bye-bye.
Recording stopped.